Hi guys, welcome to another video. So today we are going to be making Yandere-chan from Yandere Simulator. I love this game a lot, and even if it's still in development, I think it's absolutely amazing, so let's get started. To start off, I used a Dracula doll just because I didn't have to paint most of her and I thought that her face mold would suit. To start off, I removed the entire face using pure acetone. You can probably get this from your local pharmacy or any place like that. Sometimes when using acetone it can smear, so always remember to be careful with it and try not to smear it around the face too much. Next, I removed the head using boiling hot water and I started to cut off the hair. When removing the hair, make sure that you have a long pair of needle nose pliers or just something that you can use to pull all of the hair out from the inside of the head. This doll actually took me a really long time to get out of the head because it was so old, but it's finally done. I thought that I would start off by making the weapons. I made the bat out of silk clay because I thought about making it out of epoxy, but I thought it would be a little heavy. Then for the axe, for the handle I used an old wooden chopstick and sculpted the top of it out of epoxy. Carry on sculpting it until you can get your perfect shape and everything perfect. Any imperfections like fingerprints or dents, you can just file out later. Then with the shovel I used the same wooden chopstick and started sculpting it all out with epoxy. Sculpt a little bit onto the one side of the chopstick to mark the little metal bit which goes onto the shovel. The shovel blade was actually really hard because as it was so thin it kept on just wanting to flop and fall over. I tried sculpting it on top of the epoxy container, but then it got really distorted. I then started making the handle by rolling out teeny tiny bits of epoxy and flattening them out. This bit was really fiddly, and if I find an easier way to do it, I will tell you guys. For the knife and small weapons, to give them a better support, I put a little bit of wire on the inside of them. And once you've left them to dry overnight, you can start filing. The shovel, it broke in half when I picked it up, so I had to remake it. I started then making the camera for the photography club and all of the club materials. The flower for the gardening club was really difficult, and I just kept on contemplating on how to do it. The beret I made simply out of silk clay. This bit was really easy and didn't take much effort at all. For the mask, I put cling film on the face and sculpted it around. Next, for the cooking club accessory, I measured a small square of fabric which should fit Yandere-chan's head. I made a little bigger so that when we hemmed it, it would fit on better. To hem it, as I didn't want any stitches, I just put on a thin layer of UHU glue and folded it over on itself. and done. and it fits perfectly. Next, to make it sure that it fits onto the head no matter what, I attached a little bit of elastic to the bottom so that it would stretch out. Can sometimes take a while to dry and will flick off at certain times, so just be careful when using it. And done! I think this accessory turned out the best out of all of them. Next, I started on the accessory for the drama club. To start off, for the ruff, I cut out a very small section of white ribbon. I think it was a little blue, I'm not quite sure. I then added a small drop of glue to each end to attach some teeny Velcro squares which would help it go around the neck. Next, to do the little ruff, I took a piece of fabric which I'd laid it over 3 times and started measuring it so that it would fit nicely onto the neck and be the right size, not too big and not too small. And done! Next, I started on the accessory for the occult club. I didn't have any black ribbon, so I just painted some blue ribbon black. Then I was stuck on the little Velcro squares accordingly. To make the little moon thing which is on the choker, I don't know what to call it, I just took a little bit of epoxy and pressed a little gem into the middle of it. Once it had dried, I painted it black to make it match with the rest of the choker. I then started on the accessory for the Science Club. While I still had the cling film on the head, I sculpted it so that it would fit over the ear and the eye and painted it accordingly. I then painted the camera for the photography club the same, and I added a small gradient to the flower. For the shoes, I thought that I could start off using some Draculaura boots, which came with the doll, and sculpt them out using epoxy. This ended up not working and I had to make new shoes, although still sculpt them because you can use them later on. Some of the epoxy cracked off, so I had to go back in with silk clay. I then painted the shoes black to match the rest of it and try and replicate the school shoes. I ended up using these for the gym shoes later on, as you'll see, but I didn't know at this point. For the shirt, I undid one of the shirts which came with the doll and just drew out a template of it and then traced it onto the fabric. Then, using a pair of very small fabric scissors, I cut out the pattern. And done! The neckline I scuffed on a bit, but I'm sure we can fix it later on. Then, you can start hemming your pattern and sewing it all together. Sew it together in the same way that the shirt was sewn together. I then started cutting out little sleeves patterns. I didn't have a proper pattern because all the shirts that I got were sleeveless, but I just tried to make them up and roll with it. Sewing on the sleeves is quite hard once you've made the original shirt, so I'd recommend finding a tutorial elsewhere because I did not make mine very well. When I sewed the sleeve, there was then a small hole at the bottom which I'd have to repair. And done! That's the main bit of the shirt. With both of the sleeves sewn on, we can now start doing all of the little bits which will go onto the shirt. I used some small scraps of navy blue fabric to add on the little accents and glued on 2 ribbons underneath the little neck bit. I tied them in a knot to try and replicate the little school outfit thing. I'm not sure whether it looked that good, but I think it turned out quite well. The first knot doesn't always look very good, it just looks a bit slipped, so always tie another knot over it and then cut your ribbons to size. I then started to paint on the little white accents which go on all the little blue bits. I don't know what to call them. If anybody knows the technical name for them, please leave it in the comments below. I then started on the skirt. I used a little strip of elastic and glued blue fabric and pleated it along the way to get the desired look. Perfect. And that's what the first bit of the outfit looks like. I thought that I should make her some pants because the skirt turned out a little shorter than I wanted. I took some washi tape and put it on her and started to draw out the outline of how I wanted the pants to be. My ballpoint pen didn't work, so I just took out a Sharpie. I had finally traced out the pattern, I took my scalpel and very carefully cut it off at 2 edges. I then put this on some fabric which I prepared with some just watered down PVA glue so that it wouldn't fray. To the side of the pants I extended it a bit so that it would fit round and I could put Velcro on. I decided that I would make them look like a pair of pants from the game, and I decided on the little bear panties just because they're my favourite. And done! It was so silly to try and paint this teeny thing on with acrylics, but I got there eventually. I then took 2 teeny little squares of Velcro and glued them to either side of the straps. I then started on the swimsuit. I tried so many times to make this, but the only way I figured I could do it was to sculpt it on with epoxy. So I started trying to iron out all of the little sculpted on pants by cutting away the top bit and putting the rest on with epoxy and filing away what I could. I then mixed my 2-part epoxy sculpt together and started to sculpt on all of the flat bits to try and make it look more like a swimsuit. I sculpted on a small neckline and flattened it out as much as possible so it would look like the small little rim of fabric on the swimsuit. Then, using some water, I flattened it out to try and have as few fingerprints on it as possible. No matter how hard I try, I will always have fingerprints on. I then filed out the small bits to try and get all of the fingerprints off. I had to keep on switching files so that they would all fit the different parts of the body, just because you have to bend her at such weird angles to flatten it all out. And done! I then mixed up some navy blue paint and painted our swimsuit. I tried to replicate the colour as well as I could, and make sure that whenever you're painting to use lots of thin, watery layers so that you'll get no brush strokes. It kept on getting on her legs at the joints, and her legs are slightly blue, but it's covered up mostly. And done! I painted on a small white rim to replicate the rest of it. Anyways, as this video's got so long, I'll see you guys all in the next part of this video, so bye!